Hi there, everybody. This is Taylor from the Attack Action Podcast. We had some technical difficulties with the audio in this podcast and as well in our intro music file. So you'll get the same banger beats that you are coming accustomed to here, and then the podcast will start. So if you're wondering why the intro is slightly different, it's because of that. Appreciate you and hope you enjoy the podcast. Twang! That's the sound of an arrow hitting its bullseye. What's up, Isaac?
I had a couple too many beers during our Discord party last night. And if you're thinking a Discord party sounds lame, you're fucking lame. It was a blast. I had so much fun.
Totally.
So, I'm really glad we did that with our flesh and blood buddies.
Yes, me too. Many thoughts right here in this beginning. One, I was very cranky, but now we're podcasting, and all of a sudden, I am no longer cranky. Remembering the good times.
Perfect.
Two, if this audio quality is sounding different in your earballs, it's because we're having technical difficulties, and we're doing the best we can. We just still wanted to. This is basically the only time we have to do this podcast, so. We are soldiering forward. 3, I'm going to plug our Patreon now because that was a great segue. If you would like to support us on Patreon, you get access to our Discord and then our now newly monthly Discord socials that we would be having. You have some beverages, you hang out with your new friends, we talk the game, we talk life, etc. And it's really actually nice for us as people who just stare into Isaac's icy blue eyes across from this microphone. And then I post it onto the internet and then that's it. You know, yep. I see that there is some sort of amount of people that listen to our podcast, allegedly, according to the analytics. But so this is just it's really great for us to get to kind of, put a voice to a Discord username.
And as nice as your earthy autumn gaze is, I have been very much enjoying our Discord. We have like tournaments, hanging out. It's where I get all my flesh and blood news from because it's like we kind of just like post the important stuff and then all the chatters kind of filter it out. So come join us.
You don't have to read Facebook posts where people are like, ban Briar, Runeblades suck, blah, blah, blah. You know, you just don't have to see that.
Yeah.
And it's great. Okay, so, we're the Attack Action Podcast. On today's episode, we are just going to go with Isaac on his recap journey as he made his way to top 8 at the U.S. Nationals, first ever. Incredible. It's just an incredible story, and I'm really excited to get there. But first, we got some shout-outs and some news. Thankfully, we played a few games before so that some news came out right before we recorded.
If we had just podcasted, it would have been the normal pattern of we record, and then 1 hour later, there's a big LSS announcement.
Yeah, totally.
So...
Okay, Isaac, you have a buttload of shout-outs.
Yeah, I'm going to rattle through these. Sorry if this is, boring for everybody, but we're just going to motor on through and then get to the main topic. First off, public apology to Colin. When I was asked about shout-outs at Nationals, I shouted you out, my co-host, and our podcast, which I love. But Colin is a much newer member of the cast, but no less appreciated.
I thought you were going to say much cooler than you, which would be fair.
I should have shouted out Colin instead. My buddy Zane, thanks for convincing me to go to Nats and kicking it. I had a blast. Appreciate it very much. I've told you that like 6 times now. So Thor Mike, it's really great to meet you. Sorry I was too fried out of my gourd, so we didn't get to, party all over Orlando together.
Because Isaac was already partying. That's why he was so fried.
Still great to meet you. Everybody who reached out to support me on my run was like all very much appreciated. The Sacramento crew, a lot of the guys we've met at Road to Nats were there, and you guys are great. It was just like a pretty, I don't know. I was having a great time, but it was pretty intense, run over the weekend. So
we should say Bay Area crew.
Right.
Yeah,
sorry.
totally.
And Sacramento. But
yeah, totally.
Anyway.
Yeah. Brooks lives in Sacramento. I don't know if Patrick lives there or Brishan does. I don't know. No. Anyway.
I also had almost all of my opponents were very good-natured and very pleasant to play with, but I had a few
that were utter shite.
Ian, Nathan, Brent, and Michael on chain, who are just I love it when you're at a high-level tournament and you sit down and play with somebody who is just having a good time and so good-natured, and you're just buddies playing a board game together for fun because it's what you enjoy. And I love it when I sit down at the table with somebody who just brings that energy to the table. And not everybody could do that, right? Because it's highly competitive, and maybe I don't do that all the time, but it's just
totally.
It's so appreciated. You guys are the best players.
Yep, excellent. And if you want to tweet at Isaac for calling this card game a board game, it's at Battle Bro Isaac.
Lastly, I saw briefly Hayden, Brendan, and Dante again. You guys are great. It's great to see you.
Woo!
Keep it frosty.
Awesome.
Right. Those are all my shout-outs.
Great shout-outs.
I just rambled for a bit. Why don't you take the news?
Well, I was kind of interjecting in there. Just so,
yeah.
You know. But yeah, news. Right. Sorry. I just assumed you were going to ask me to shout out some folks. And I don't have anybody to shout out, really. I would
I didn't ask you.
I will shout out my wife, who decided to hang out in the same room as me for the Discord social. And we had a great time giggling with one another. So
it was great having Maria in there. Yeah, I like hanging out with her too.
Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to you, Maria. Love of my life. Okay, the news. So LSS just published that Arcane Rising is officially out of print, unlimited, and will not be reprinted in the future, but future cards from that set may be reprinted.
Instantly confirmed Skullcap will be reprinted.
Yep.
In the next set. Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Along with that, so we'll talk about our hot takes about this after we're done here. Along with that, there is also some sort of thing on Facebook about the, what'd I call it? I gotta go find that picture. The ever blossoming, hold on, give me just 2 seconds. I'm there. The Everfest Carnival.
Oh, right. There's a whole spiel about the carnival. Yeah. But it's the delightful characters of Aria who enjoy this carnival, which I thought was interesting. So it's not a party for everyone. It's a party in Aria.
Yeah. A giant traveling circus.
Bravo's definitely there.
Totally. Which is very cool. So that's our first little tidbit about the supplemental set. It's maybe the Everfest Carnival is maybe what it's called. I don't know.
Yeah, with a bunch of weapons dealers in the back.
Yeah, totally.
Slinging stuff for ninjas and
conjurers, summoners, entertainers. It says it in that little thing. I'm sure you can find it on Facebook. So, 2 things. I'm glad they showed that Skullcap will be reprinted so that all of a sudden the market doesn't freak out.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been pretty cool. I'm glad they,
totally
instantly announced that.
And I'm instantly into this festival vibe. So in one of my favorite games, Inish, you get to play a card that's called Festival, and then you just get a dope little festival token. And it's so fun every time to just be like, boom, Festival! Bro,
throwing a party. Hold on, we're gonna throw a party.
Stop this battle. Nobody can fight because it's a festival. Party vibes only. So I just love that. So I'm looking forward to that. If that's the vibe.
Judging by the young Lexi illustration, that is the vibe.
Hell yeah! Awesome. Okay, and then that's all we got for the news, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
There were a plethora of nationals, but, it's like too many to mention, so.
Yeah. We're not here to talk about that. Sorry. This meta's soon over, and by the time this comes out, you will probably be, if you're an international listener, you'll be at your Nats shredding faces. I would also like to say another thing at the top of the show. We do have a giveaway going on our YouTube page for some stickers, some Team Covenant promos, and something else, card sleeves.
We have
maybe
some card sleeves in the future to give away. Yes.
Yeah. So there's episode number 2 of the reaction step. Go subscribe to the YouTube, leave a comment. It can be anything. You don't even have to watch the YouTube video. It could just be like, what up? Or you guys suck. I mean, that would suck to hear that, but it can be something like that. And you'll get entered into a raffle. Currently, there's only one comment, and you're just going to let that homie swipe all that swag if you don't hustle over there.
So go get it.
Yeah, totally. The stickers are really cool. It's like original artwork on the stickers. And the podcast logo, and the podcast logo on some sleeves, and the TC promos are pretty dope. So check that out. Go check it out. Go do it. Okay. Where do we begin in our main topic? At the beginning.
I don't know.
Okay. 2020.
What?
You picked up Azalea knowing full well that you were going to shoot bows at nationals.
Yeah. If I just keep playing Ranger, someday she'll get a buff and Azalea will be good. And it almost happened.
Almost worked. So, excuse me. So, I had decided not to go to nationals.
Right.
So that's where we'll start, right? I qualified through Road to Nats. And then Road to Nats season was over, and you hadn't gotten top 4, and we were unsure. Honestly, we didn't even think about XP being a thing.
Well, I just had not played that many games.
You don't need to play that many if you win.
Yeah, apparently not.
Because you only get XP for winning.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But in my first Road to Nats, I went 2 and 4, and then did better at the other ones. But anyway, it didn't occur to me that... So Taylor and I's invites came with 0 overlap. So by the time Taylor had declined, I didn't even know I could go. So then later on, I got my invite. Still didn't think I was going, but, then I accepted just in case. And then the chain ban was announced, which... For me, it was great news because, I didn't really have any interest in picking.
That happens before your invite seeds banning.
Oh, gotcha.
Right? It's like the day after Vegas.
Well, that was a pretty good influence because I had no interest in really picking up chain and did not have an idea or a character to get like a over 50% win rate against chain. So spending my hard-earned money and traveling to, go... Don't get me wrong, still had fun playing Leviat into chain, but, to just go, lose and be frustrated was not very appealing. So, the chain ban did have a big factor in my decision-making. But anyway, I guess about a week and a half before Nats, I started thinking about going, why not, and then... about a week before I bought my ticket and decided to go. At just about the same time, Lightning Briar shattered the earth.
Yeah, totally. So at that time, right, if you had listened to our past episode right before UK Nats, we kind of talked about how, maybe some of the brutes would play pretty good into the field. There was quite a few Briars, quite a few Lexies, but no real archetype really was coming out of the Briar side. And so it just seemed like if we're going to have a lot of Bravos, Prisms, that sort of thing, that maybe one of the brutes would do pretty good into that field. And then the UK Nats happened, and that's like a whole other podcast topic, right? All the drama in the UK and that sort of thing. But we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, I was pretty set on my Levia list just because I had a lot of reps on it.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's like winnable into Bravo, but I don't have a lot of experience. I was pretty worried about the Earth Briar build that, Brendan from Arsenal Pass had taken on a pro quest. It was like, it wasn't overwhelmingly positive, but that was the deck I was kind of set on until Lightning Briar came out, and I knew that was just an abysmal matchup, and this deck was, just like slaughtering the rest of the field, right? Like I knew that there would be a ton of this deck at the event, and if I managed to win a few, then I would be swimming in mostly Lightning Briars probably. So I just knew that, I had to have some sort of game plan for that, and couldn't even begin to imagine what that would be piloting Levia.
Yeah, and we kind of were we had done zero testing, basically. We were doing like our normal, like kind of weekly keep our chops up, but we weren't like getting deep in the tank and, putting a lot of energy into our gameplay and our decks like we did for Road to Nats season, you know. And we could just kind of had a lot of conversations theorizing about what about this deck, what about that deck, etc. And then it like, the meta kind of crystallized, like we knew Lightning Briar was going to be a thing. And I think the Wednesday before you left, you had put together a couple of Ranger lists, and we just like played 2 games against, kind of a generic Lightning Briar list to just get the feel for it.
Yeah, the UK list.
Yeah.
And I threw together an Ice Lexi deck. I didn't have much time to think about it, but I just kind of like put it together, and actually won that match. We played 1 game.
Yep.
And it went into Lightning Briar, and my deck did not feel that strong, but it really like showed me what was effective and what was ineffective in that matchup, like what my priorities needed to be attacking that deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we kind of, and then we played a game with Azalea, and it was like,
yeah, because I had to scratch that itch,
and I was just like, oh my god, don't waste your time on that, and you lost that game, and then we kind of talked afterwards, and I kind of got like a little mad at you because you were trying to talk yourself into Azalea, and I was like, I was pretty short with you for sure. And thankfully Troy was there to keep us on our like best behavior instead of like calling each other fucks or something. And he was a good sounding board too. And, we came to the conclusion that like, look, there's just no time to really put in the effort. So all we could do is make a decision that has some like ground in reality,
right?
Not that like, so like your thing, sorry to cut you off for a second, but you're like, well, I really know how to play Azalea into these decks that could be represented, and it was like, we need more than that. Like, we need a deck that's going to just address the most popular thing and the most popular thing's weakness.
Yeah. And so Azalea has some cool new tools, and can be really powerful in the form of Knock, Memorial Ground, and Red in the Ledger. That's a lot of cards to find in your deck that enable what you want to do. But, I mean, Lexi gets basically like a hamstring shot hit for free with Frostbite. Yeah. It's just like, and it's a lot more flexible of a deck because of Voltaire. There's like no denying, that in of itself. Yeah. Voltaire enables cards like 3 of a kind, etc. It's just like, as much as I want my loyalty to Azalea to carry me to the national championship, reality also has to set in a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And oh crap, what was my point? I had a great point here that I am 100% blanking on. Oh, this is it. If you want to know the real specifics of this Ice Lexi deck, go check out our YouTube page.
Oh yeah, we made a deck tech that's like close to an hour long or something. So
it's pretty detailed, and Isaac gives you, all of his theory and strategy and things he would change after having played at nationals and that sort of thing, and talks about what the best combos are and that sort of stuff. So if you want to pick this up, that's your kind of baseline deck we got for you over there.
Also, so right before this Wednesday, I had played a Lightning Lexi list into a list that you were running that's close to Brendan's Earth Briar. And it was just so obvious that Lightning Lexi is awesome, but because of embodiment tokens, I just lose the aggro race, right? I block with a card sometimes, and so does Briar, but Briar's blocks for 6, so I just lose.
Or just even 4, and yours blocks for 2.
So that was, and just the value of Channel Mount Heroic in that deck, anyway, shadowed my Lightning Lexi dreams. Pretty quick there.
Yeah, totally.
But then I had this funny moment. So that Wednesday, after we'd played twice, and I didn't have time for any more games or anything, but that Wednesday afternoon, I sat down for a couple hours and laid out my cards and thought about the deck and all that. Just trying to really prioritize my ratios and consider everything, right? Ice, resource curve, threat density, potency, card flexibility, functionality, all of this stuff.
Bunch of adjectives.
Yeah, totally. It's just a lot to consider theoretically without testing. So I wanted to look at it and then, take a break and then look at it again and just really try to do what I was trying to do. Funnily enough, I had 6 extra Tails packs lying around that I didn't have a use for, and I was I'm never going to use these, right? So I just I was tired of thinking, so I sat down and opened them, and in the last pack was a cold foil Pulse of Volthaven, which I'm not a Omen or a Signs guy or whatever, but it made me smile because I was well, as far as Omens go, that really is pointing me on the right track.
Yeah.
So it was pretty nice.
Yeah, that was pretty nice. Yeah, and then just and we had a few more conversations too about cards you included, and you asked me my opinion, and I asked you your thoughts on if those cards were really valuable or not, etc. So, we kind of crossed our T's and dotted our I's before you left. Right? Obviously. I'm taking the assist on this one. Talked you off the Azalea ledge, man. It counts.
Also played 100 games against me as Viserai against Azalea.
Yeah,
during the deep pandemic winter.
Yeah, you can go back and listen to some of our earliest episodes. I think one of them is we do a deep dive, long form podcast about Azalea and Viserai in the same episode, and it's 4 hours long. But who knew that it was just going to be Ranger versus Runeblade, all day. We would play till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, just getting drunk and pissed.
Arc Knight Rattlebones combo versus Feign Death.
Yeah, totally. Just so funny. Okay, so you leave. Tell me about the first bit of the event and stuff, and just start going through your story here.
So I got in I had a layover and limited flight options. So anyway, I get in, I get to sleep at my hotel, unfortunately, at 12:30 at night or something the night before, which is okay. But get up the next morning for Nats, and the vibe in the room is quite a bit different than a calling, because there's no calling has started yet. Right, it's just the Nationals players, and there were some Friday side events and some other people there and stuff, but it's just mostly the 414 Nats players sitting there, and I think most people are not like tense yet, but it's just a little more serious than you're showing up for like the Tales first pre-release at Vegas, or it's just like there isn't quite the energetic positive hum. It's more tense. But anyway, so then we get right into it, and I'm feeling a little off because again I like get to sleep at 12:30, but then I have to get up at whenever 7, which feels like 4 my time. And sorry that I'm complaining about a 3-hour difference to anybody who had a longer difference, but
yeah.
Anyway, we sit down to draft, and like I'm having a blast. It's so much fun because it's just like you don't have to sit down with your prepared deck and like face your, it's just like you're not even playing a game, right? You're just like drafting this fun activity. I don't know. At least that's how I took it. I think some people were probably really anxious or something, but it was just like, for me, it was like a really, really nice kind of fun icebreaker to just like get into the whole thing. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And so I think the dual format for Nationals, I hope that is just how the game continues, because I think it's so cool, so much cooler, so much more fun. All of that stuff. What did you think of that?
Me too. As assuming sets continue to be as fun in the limited format as like Monarch and Aria, and as balanced, I think that this should always be part of it. It's just like a really, really amazing format. And obviously you draft and you play 3 rounds and you play in your pod, right? You deck build with somebody from a different pod. So you don't see each other's lists. You only play in your pod, and then you move on to constructed. So, the whole thing is like very well.
Did you mind all of the extra logistics around draft for just like 3 quick rounds?
No.
Okay, nice.
I mean, it like took a bit, and there was some shuffling around, but it didn't really take that long. And these are like the first games of the day, right? So I'm not, by game 8 in the evening, you're like, well, I wish maybe draft would have happened a little quicker, but when you're just drafting and having fun there, it was just fine.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, I just assumed that there's going to be way more kind of logistics in how that first part of the tournament runs, and maybe that bogs you down for just those 3, Day
1 did go longer than day 2, but at least draft rounds are only 30 minutes,
right?
Which helps. And then you only play 5 rounds of CC. Day 1 did end. I probably got home at like 8:30 or something, and you still have to eat and stuff. So that was like a bit late for my preference, but not the worst.
Yeah, totally get it. And then how does it feel transitioning from? Well, if you don't know for some reason and you're listening to this pod, Nationals format is 3 rounds of draft, 5 rounds of Classic Constructed. Anyone who has won 4 games makes it to day 2, and then it's 3 rounds of draft. Well, it's draft and then 3 rounds of Swiss in your pod, and then 5 rounds of Constructed, and then cut to the top 8. So if you don't know that, that's how it goes. I forget what my original question was going to be.
How was it transitioning to CC?
Yeah, totally.
It was fine, honestly. Like, it was really weird when you have just played some draft and you're in limited mindset and you sit down for CC.
Yeah.
But then once the game gets going, it's like, it didn't matter to me.
Nice.
I like thought it did and it felt weird, but then it was just like whatever. Also, those Briar decks play like it's Blitz, so
yeah,
it's all moving pretty fast.
Yeah, I know just from my experience at Vegas, I really enjoyed the limited games, the world premiere of Tales on Friday. Just like a little bit lower pressure. I know it's a little bit different because these games actually mattered, but just like not having to play kind of Classic Constructed kind of right away. Just like you said, there's a certain amount of weight psychologically, that I think me and you have about Classic Constructed,
Yeah,
compared to draft or whatever, you know.
Definitely. And yeah, I mean, I feel that way in CC because it's the format I love the most, and you're like prepared your deck and you know want to win that round. I did not expect to top 8 this event. You know, I was not a like well prepared, you know, like professional player that top 8s events regularly, so I did not feel that pressure in day 1 of draft.
Right. Yeah. So, you know, maybe that helps. You know, being able to be receptive to the signals in draft and that sort of thing. So you went 2-1 in draft, right?
Yep.
And who'd you play? Not persons, but what hero did you play in draft?
I played like a aggro Ice Oldham list, nice. Which is not really the best archetype, but it was kind of the cards I was being fed, and I went with it. And going 2-1's fine. I kind of brought too few cards and barely beat a control Oldham. I had like 5 or 6 cards left in deck, but I had pitch stacked for 12 dominate and got him.
Hell yeah.
Which was fortunate. And then my loss came to one of the only 2 Lexis at the table, because it's just like, you know,
right.
9 dominate, 12 dominate, you know, like my aggro Oldham doesn't really, you know, I don't have those earth cards and defense reactions to keep up with that.
Yeah.
And his deck was just better than mine.
Well, nice. And then, so then how did, good job, by the way. Like, I've told you personally many times how proud I am of you for doing so well, you know, and just all of the work we've put into be good at this game and to, you know, talk through all of the like limited format theoretical situations and stuff, you know, and we've shared some of that on the podcast and that sort of thing.
Definitely. Yeah.
Just all of those things have like paid off.
Yeah.
You know, to where you can just, you know, make a good meta call and top 8, which is pretty sick.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like in Vegas, I was unable to do this in the face of chain, right? So there's like limits to it. But fortunately, in this particular meta, there is room, yeah, I don't know, to like target weaknesses or to, you know, make the right call and have it pay off.
Yeah. And that's something I think we talked about briefly is like now with Briar being like, quote unquote, the best deck, and how much easier it was to target it, to beat it, really kind of crystallizes how broken Chain was.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Like lots of different strategies employed to try to beat him, and it was impossible.
Yeah, for
the most part, you know. Tyler Horsepool is maybe shouting at us if he listens to the podcast, but you know, on a whole, when you look at all the numbers anyway. Yeah. So tell me about Classic Constructed day 1. How'd that go?
So round 1, I sit down across from a Lexi, and there's not even enough Lexis to make a pie slice in the chart. You know, there's like 10 of us or less or something. Yeah, totally. And I'm like, you know, I'm not here for you. We should not be fighting. But anyway, I assumed it would be ice or lightning Lexi, and I teched for that. Mm-hmm. And I went down 26-40 turn 1 and then won the game, which is just like how it goes. I think he got to go, or he went second. I don't even remember, but probably went second, right? So I set up and then take the God hand of damage, apparently. And then
that's so funny.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, and then I played, I forget what order. I had one loss to a Bravo that day, and then faced Briars, and you know, went out. So I was, I played 8 games, so I was 6-2 at the end, and easily made day 2. Not like at the top tables or guaranteed to make day 3, but you know, in a decent position. Right?
Yeah, totally.
6-2 is like pretty strong.
Yeah, because we know, right, everybody does the math, and we know that like some X and 4s are going to make it into the top 8. So you just basically, kind of have to win those first 6 rounds, and then you got to do well in the draft, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you don't have to. You just got to win one game in the draft and then hope all of your CC games
totally
you win, which is a tall order.
I just wanted to go 2-1 in the draft again, at least.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you start winning, then you get up there and you're playing those top 8 players in the last rounds. So getting up there with too many losses under your belt, then you just get too many losses, I think. So
Totally. So tell me about draft day 2. I know we're flying through this, but
totally. No,
I'm totally good. I think it's good.
So I'm not at the top tables, but I'm, not that far off. And then
do you know, so are the pods numbered so you kind of know where you stand?
Yeah, I'm at table 6 or something. I don't remember. Maybe it was 5 but then there's 8 people at each table. So, I was 41st overall
after
day
day
1.
I mean, after day 1. Yeah.
So I was at whatever table.
Right. Yeah. What I wanted to ask was, after day 1, you played Briars and you beat them all. Yeah. How did you feel about your deck choice then?
Better than I could have imagined. It was doing everything I designed it to pretty perfectly. But just the power of that Briar deck almost just overrides the direct counter. That deck's so good that it's like if you have one lackluster turn at the wrong time, they just steamroll you and win the game. So I think I had 1 or 2 maybe really close games, and then somewhere I won by 8 or 12 or so.
Right.
But on day 2, when you get when I got higher up, all my games became really close.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, day 2 happens. Were you and Zane? So who was the big spoon?
On day 2?
No, the night before day 2. So you got optimal sleep,
Great question.
Sorry, Zane. Okay, so day 2 happens. You sit down to draft. How are you feeling?
Good. I wasn't nervous on day 2 either, but I was a little bit more uncomfortable with draft because I was oh, well, now I have a good record and I have to do well in this draft. Right. So it was it just made it a little uncomfortable that way, but there's nothing to be done. There's no prep for it. There's no, it's just,
Totally.
You just sit down and do it.
Really funny on stream too, because they have the cameras looking at the top table draft, and then they zoom out for a camera to look at the whole table.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I spotted you.
Nice.
Yeah. I posted it in the Discord. I was there he is, drafting away. It was awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I picked a channel Mount Heroic, pack 1, pick 1, and then 3 lightning cards and 3 Briar cards, because he was passing me some good Briar cards, but then it ended up he was picking Briar in the end. So I hard pivoted into Lexi, and
that was talking to you about that kind of to the wire a little bit. It was not until pick 7 of pack 1 kind of.
Yeah, or 8. But I did have 3 lightning cards.
Yeah.
Which function in that. Red Shock Striker.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Red Lightning Surge. So powerful cards
right.
for that deck. And so one of the benefits of drafting Lexi is at the end of each round, you're going to get past blue arrows. Mm-hmm. So unlike Oldheim, you don't have to specifically draft your ratio of blues. You're just going to kind of get them.
Right.
So that's actually a huge advantage.
Right. Yeah. To identify that's a pattern.
Yeah. Totally. So, it just makes you less worried about how many picks do I have left before I start getting past cards I can't use, and like which ratios am I low on and stuff.
Yeah.
So I ended up just having a deck that like, I think Red Invigorate did not make the cut. I had like maybe 9 pumps and a bunch of red arrows. My talent was all over the place, but it was just like pumps and arrows, and I just raced my opponents.
It was a pretty sweet deck. You got 2 red overflexes and 2 yellow overflexes.
Yep.
Which is pretty sick.
And classic Ranger, a yellow is like good enough.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like pays for the arrow and the bow.
Yeah.
If you have a pump that costs 1, it doesn't. But yeah, very good.
Yeah, I was pretty psyched after you showed me that picture later. I was like, ooh.
I was definitely one of the only 2 Lexis at the table, I'm sure.
Nice. Yeah.
But I did go down to 1 life twice against Briars, choosing to have the guaranteed win, right?
Nice.
So I could like block and threaten them, but maybe not win. But, we're not even like halfway through our decks. I can just like win if they don't draw a sigil. I know there's at least 3 Briars at my table, and I only saw 1 sigil, maybe.
Yeah.
So I just like, it's like, they don't have an arsenal,
right?
So I'm just like, all right, I'm going to go down to 1 and then play this and, hope you don't draw the sigil.
Nice.
And it paid off both times. I'm like unsure if that's the most intelligent play, but like Briar can just go off on you, and like as Lexi, you could draw an unlucky hand, right? Like especially in limited, where you have like kind of less tools to mitigate that, maybe, or less non-attacks that like really have an impact anyway. So I just like went for it, and it paid off, fortunately.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I think it can't be overstated how not good at limited you were previous to Tales of Aria. Like notably maybe the like worst of our 4 friend group, but all of the sudden in Tales of Aria, you have become a force at the limited table. Draft, sealed, you're like, whatever it is about this set, like just works for your brain. I don't know if it's because it's like slightly more complicated, that like, you have 3 talents, but not every card in each talent or essences, right? Is perfect for the 2 heroes that can play it, So this is my theory about your brain.
Are really weird.
Yeah, about your brain is that it's slightly more complicated, so you just are activating your brain more.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and before you were just like, not challenged.
Well, thanks. But it is true. I was like, pre-Monarch, I just didn't like limited as much, so I'm like less interested.
Yeah.
Like in Vegas when I had sealed Monarch, I felt like I did pretty well, just because I like by then had known the set so well. But yeah, like it helps to like really enjoy it and be really intrigued by it.
Yeah. Because I was really, really into Monarch limited and like talked to you a lot about it. And you would just be like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just like not very good at limited or whatever, but whatever it was, like, I don't know. Just maybe thinking about the game or that that is an aspect of the game also,
Yeah. It's like a tough format because again, the signals are pretty weird, right? Like in the first 2 picks, maybe they only picked armor.
Yeah.
And then after that, maybe they're picking a talent. So I don't know. You might not get any hero signals for quite a long time, but you still need to like pick efficiently enough to like, make your deck good. It just makes it, makes it a little challenging. The hardest part for me, right, is when it's like you've picked the first pack and you've received signals and sent signals. And I know the theory is that you're down the line, you're sending the signal that like ice is not open, don't pick her. But it's just like not as perfect a world as that.
Yeah.
So then when you open pack 2 and it reverses directions, then like, or maybe you were picking ice and going to pick arrows later, or picking arrows and going to pick ice layer or like whatever it is. When it reverses direction, if they didn't read your signals, if they didn't care, if they forced it early, whatever it is, your like plan can just like kind of dry up. So, I find that part of it like pretty tough when Pack 2 starts wheeling around and you're, trying to stick to your cohesive game plan.
Yeah, totally. That's what makes draft so fun, though. And it's so cool that it's part of the Nationals format. So it's like a thing you kind of always have to keep doing now, which is great, which is our plan anyway, because we really love draft. I'm pretty excited to put together this Tales of Aria cube.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good set for it. Anyway, on to Classic Constructed. So at this point, you're 9-2 after second round of draft.
Yep. Beat a Briar. I beat a Wizard who...
In day 2?
Yeah.
Well,
he's one of the guys I shouted out. Super nice.
Nice.
Yeah. Just having a blast. Those Wizard guys are great. But so I have Null Rune 3, of course. Never leave it at home. And Frostbite's really tough on Wizards because it kind of makes them... Like, they don't have to play on my turn alone, but if I can give them, like, 2 Frostbites and, like, strip a card, or just, like, the effects make it so they're incentivized to exclusively play on my turn. And, like, if I play out a Winter's Bite or something, that's, like... It's kind of like a barraging, right? Like, they have to make a decision on the spot. And it just, he kind of came out pretty hot, actually, off the top. But then at the end, less so.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's a tough matchup.
Yeah, definitely is. And then what? Briars, basically, until you play Michael in round 16?
Yep.
Yep.
Correct.
And how'd that go?
Great. Just the same game plan, grind it out. And by then I was pretty comfortable with the matchup and I learned the pattern. So you're a little less stressful when you, so this is what you I go first if I can. If I go second, it's fine, but set up a 6-card hand, take a bunch of damage, start the game with a 6-card hand at 30 life to 40.
Yeah.
It's basically how it goes. And then you they have armor, they block well, it's pretty tough, but then by the end of the game, the last third or quarter, they're out of their kind of potent resources and you're able to really hammer down. And yeah, it went fine, but my last 3 matches, I played Tyler Horsepool on Briar, and then I played Jacob. I'm spacing his last name, but he's a famous Magic guy.
I think, or something.
On camera, actually, if you want to go watch that match. And won both those games, but it's it's tight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it looks like a hair desperate on my end, maybe in the Jacob game, but those decks don't block for shit. So when you swing 6 or 9 at them,
yeah, when
it's
when you have all of the momentum and their armor's gone and they have no embodiments, they just have a bunch of block for 2s or block for nils.
Yeah, and until then you're attacking their hand and their resources, but once they have 7 life and you swing big at them, you're not it's not like Bravo, you're not just stripping 1 or 2 cards, you're stripping their hand.
Yeah.
So that was a big part of my strategy, is just understanding that with no embodiments up and momentum there, it's pretty easy to maintain momentum.
Yeah. Yeah. But and that's pretty apparent when you watch your games on stream.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Yeah, and you beat Jacob, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He wound up with just cards that did not block in his hand.
Yeah, 16 in his deck. I saw his list later.
Yeah.
16 cards don't block at all.
Yeah, because he made top 8. Yeah, he got hosed in one of his top 8 games because he couldn't block also. And I noticed too, in the games you played, Briar players were just kind of blocking pretty early with Grasp and Skullcap and stuff to try to stop Frostbite hit effects and save a card, which is just exactly what you want to happen.
Definitely.
You know?
But I think they're so they probably haven't practiced this matchup much.
Yeah.
But I think they're kind of in a predicament that, like, if they don't use their armor, then I just, like, strip, like, all of their cards and keep hammering down.
Yeah.
If they do use their armor, then they get momentum back and, like,
or
compete.
some semblance of it.
Yeah. So it's just, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they could save their armor for the late game, because then I would just kind of run them over, you know?
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, well, I talk pretty confidently, but it's like a deck that just targets that deck. Yeah. And it's like, it's pretty, it wants 0 cost curve and 5 card hands. So it's, with the ice talent, it's just like very obvious how to target that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like, and that's what we talked about, after I had played the deck a few times and stuff. I'm like, look, this is like... There's this many block for 2s. There's 1 card in here that costs anything.
Yeah, they're all free.
Yeah, totally. You can capitalize on that. We have cards that do that, so let's just do that.
Yeah.
So in day 2, after round 15, you're undefeated in day 2.
Yep.
You're 7-0. All on Lexi too, because you drafted Lexi.
Yeah, which was pretty cool.
Which is sick. And then you played noteworthy calling champion Michael Fang and he was on chain in round 16.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that game a little bit.
So I was like pretty hungry and I mean, I've been eating, but it was like, maybe it's only 7 at night or something. But I was just like pretty fried. I have a hard time at these. I don't know if like all these pro players are just fine, but I get like pretty fried. My last game of the day is not my best, just because my like brain fuel is waning.
Yeah.
I like get a little burnt out. So I was like happy to play that matchup because I was in top 8 and then I could like learn from it.
Yeah.
But I was also maybe playing suboptimally. I don't know. Maybe he was too. And I ended up losing that game. It was kind of close, but...
Do you and Michael have the same record at that point?
Yes.
So you're playing for top seed.
Yeah. So it puts him into first.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it was pretty relaxing because it's just like, just practice, it doesn't really matter. I was, so going into top 8 after seeing like playing like Tyler and Jacob and, like I knew that I could like lose any match.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I could just easily lose the quarters and be out. It was definitely not a gimme. But the deck I was most worried about was Chain.
Yeah.
Because he's like a little bit more resilient. They all have a number of blues, but maybe Briar needs to play them more. Or maybe Chain's like a card advantage and the Husk. I don't know. Like, and Michael's a very skilled player.
Yeah.
So that just combination and me not knowing the matchup, I was most worried about if I did, squeeze by and make it to the finals. I was like well aware that like try as I might, I could just like lose. I might lose, every game we play. I was just like didn't know.
Yeah.
So,
but it was a close match between you and Michael.
Yeah, I got down 1-4, which I took to like. I was gonna like break my bracers and swing with a seek and destroy endless arrow, and then he inverted me.
Yeah.
Which I was like well aware of that possibility, but that was kind of my only line.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, lost 0-4. It wasn't like didn't slaughter me, but
right.
Definitely tough.
Yeah. Well, awesome. And then so like after that, so from my perspective at home, I'm like kind of doing stuff, checking in with the stream. You're not on. I'm getting updates from you. I'm all dressed. Hilda, my dog, got the collar on. We're ready to go. And you're just like, well, just one on stream. And I was like, oh my God. Okay, Hilda, we have to wait and watch this game. And I'm just like sitting there watching it. And I'm just like, I'm in full sports mode here.
Totally.
Like talking to the screen. I'm the only person in the house. Hilda's like on the ground looking at me the whole time. Daggers like, aren't we going somewhere? And there's at one point where Jacob has going back to that game where you played against Jacob, he has lightning press in hand and is like for sure gonna kill you. Yeah. And I'm just sitting there yelling at the screen like, he has lightning press. Come on, figure it out, buddy. You can do it. Figure it out. Come on. And you overblocked, and I was like, yeah, just like sick. Just Home Alone, just super into it.
Totally. You can't hear the audio, but he plays ball lightning, and I'm like, are you gonna lightning press me? And there's none in his graveyard.
Yeah, totally.
I think he may have pitched one, or like, I know he's like, they all have them. He's got to have them, but there's none in the graveyard. I knew I hadn't seen one, but I look anyway. Yeah, and then I'm like, whoa, the odds of him having one go way up now.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you made the right call, which was excellent.
It was just hard because I had Pulse in my hand, so if I could have saved one more card. So choosing to overblock means I don't swing for 10 next turn.
Yeah.
I just swing for 6. So like overblocking costing me +4 and probably winning the game on the spot was like a tough call.
Yeah, but it's the right call.
Yeah.
Because you can't get blown out right there and lose the game on the spot if you don't block. So that was great.
And my thought process is, well, I have to break my bracers so I don't have any barrier anymore. But my thought process is just like, I overblock this, and then I'm going to like threaten him for 6 anyway, which is not ideal. But again, like he'll get no embodiments and those decks don't block.
Yeah. And it's like 3 cards.
Yeah.
That he'll probably have to block with.
Yeah. So then he has no momentum to then kill me.
Yeah. Which was pretty fun.
Yeah.
To watch that happen.
Tight game.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that matchup is still so tight.
Yeah. Totally.
Like, those players are very good.
Yeah. And so then I go on my walk with my dog, and just the whole time, like I chose to, instead of go to this place that doesn't have cell phone service next to my house, I went to a place that had cell phone service so I could continue to get updates. And I just like normally put on a podcast or something and zone out, but I just was like walking and just thinking about like, oh my God, Isaac is making top 8. Like, just still super into it. And then we had talked a little bit after the tournament and stuff, and then you're into top 8, second seed. Incredible. 2 test games.
Yeah, I was like pretty blown away.
Yeah, I think it's a real testament to, and I think I said this earlier in the podcast, but I just want to reiterate the like skill at which you and I like operate at. You know what I mean? Like to toot our own horn here. Like, we're not some like, if you're an old time listener, we've been, podcasting for over a year, been playing games, and then, as soon as we get into the competitive scene, we're like doing well already, and even at the Nats format, doing well in draft and classic constructed, which is a huge advantage, right? If you can be good at draft, because you really separated yourself from the pack right there. You go from 6-2 to 9-2. That's like a huge boon you just like gave yourself.
Yeah, and I don't think you can realistically go 1-2 in both drafts and like expect a top 8.
Yeah,
I mean maybe if you somehow win out, but it's just like you can't expect to win every game. So
you got to be good at both for sure.
I'll tell you that like all of those Azalea reps for a year like really paid off.
Totally.
Like the different characters play very differently compared to the other character, but the classes play more similarly to each other than that. It's like it definitely has the same feel and puts some of the decision making on autopilot. Really helps.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that way in my favorite class, Runeblade. I have 3 separate heroes that play extremely different. So like my, 9-month bender on Viserai does not prepare you for how to play Chain whatsoever,
I mean, Lexi is like extremely different, but it's just like being comfortable with the bow mechanic. Yeah. Or just like, like all of those little things.
And that's like super, super unique.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's probably pays off a little bit, which is good.
Yeah.
Okay, top 8. You make it. You're the second seed. You're going to play...
and I'm actually nervous for the first time, like Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I woke up at 6 Eastern time, right?
Yeah.
And I slept like 6 or whatever hour. Like it was fine.
Totally.
But
a gentleman's amount.
I like still had no I even knew if I beat the Briars, I like might probably lose to Chain or something. I had like no illusions about winning the whole thing still, but I guess because going into day 2, you're still not like top 8. You're still so far away.
You have no idea what's going to happen.
So it still doesn't really, you have to draft. So going into top 8 was the first time like the game like mattered.
Yeah, totally. And plus like all of a sudden you can plot out your path. Like, okay, if this person wins and I win, I play them, or, all of these scenarios. And you're like, okay, well, if I just win, what's the likelihood I play this player, So then it just like adds a lot more reality to, I suppose, your play and that sort of thing.
What I most wanted to do was if I win my quarterfinal game, I most likely play Tarek.
Yeah.
Who's like the best player on Briar.
Yeah.
As we see.
National champ.
So I was like looking forward to, I knew like by my previous games that I would have like 0 advantage, but could win, So I was just kind of hoping to like play that matchup to see how it would go.
Yeah.
But
all right. Everybody's waited a whole hour to get to this moment. Let's talk about your quarterfinal game against Deegan.
Yep.
Tell me about it, baby.
I mean, it just goes the same, right? I like go down on life. I like chip through his armor. It's like kind of like a delicate decision-making process because it's like I have to chip his armor away without like having as many effects, right? And I have to whittle down his life to get it so like pretty soon he starts to like having to block. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's like he blocks with equipment and I'm like having less control, and he just like, or Briar in general just comes at you with these huge hands. So you have to like preserve your life enough that you make it to this end game that you're like, planning for. So, I think there's one time where, I don't know, I'm down so many life and then he like swings a bunch more, but so he doesn't have an arsenal. Mm-hmm. So I just take it, right? So then it's like 16 to 24 or something like that.
Yeah.
And all I do is swing back 7. But I've made a frostbite. Maybe I played a winter's bite also or something. But like...
Yeah, I can't remember the specific...
line. I play a blue icequake. But so I made a frostbite. I play a blue icequake into an arrow. But it's like threatening another frostbite, threatening a card out of hand because it's a chilling. And then I get an arsenal. And he has no arsenal, limited equipment at this point. But it's like really hard to make that call to like threaten something he can maybe push through and only 7 damage and just like go down so far. But
yeah,
anyway, that's just a good example of
how the matchup goes.
Yeah. And, how it's like, it's not like, oh, I just take damage and then seize control of the game. It's like I'm actually kind of out of control of it for most of the game, but you're just setting up this end game.
Yeah. So from my perspective, me and Troy have been, I go over to Troy's house and we're watching on his big screen in his like 200 square foot apartment. It's like the door opens up into the bathroom door, so those two can't be open at the same time. His like one chair and bed are too big, it's like it's pretty fun.
Cozy.
Big TV though. And your game comes up and we're just like, my phone's blowing up as the game's going on from the Discord, from Facebook, etc. So I'm like on the horn texting, messaging everybody, talking to Troy through the game. He's talking to me about the game. And, you get off like a 3 of a kind and we're just like, oh yeah, 3 of a kind, you get off the second one, and we're just waiting for your like, a dominated Frostlock or something, which does happen in the game. And if you don't know, Frostlock basically means you can't play or pitch cards that cost 0, and all of the cards cost 0.
Yep.
So he has like 3 cards left in hand, and he just has to like Arsenal pass. And we're just erupted in screaming, And so you go on this monumental run where you have like 14, 16 life or something, and Deegan goes down to like 2, and
it's 12 to 2.
Yeah, and you play your third 3 of a kind, and you've given him a frostbite, and it's red weave ice in Arsenal that you're about to play, and you draw 3 more cards. And shout out to Deegan, but his body language at this point, after these last couple of turns, is just so defeated. The commentators know it. People in the chat know it. They're everybody on our Discord knows it, and you can see it in his body language that he's just like not going to win this game. But then Troy's like, I can't believe this. This is so amazing. And I'm watching your body language off of that 3 of the kind, and I'm like, oh no, Troy, he did not draw an arrow. And Troy's like, what? No way. He's definitely got it. He's just being careful. I'm like, no, I look at Isaac. He's doesn't have an arrow, and you just Arsenal passed.
Yep.
And it's 12 to 2, and he just gets to keep his whole hand, and he just has like a frostbite.
Yeah, he comes at me with like a 20 damage turn or something.
Yeah.
Just takes momentum and wins out. A couple of things about that. So in case anybody's wondering. So sure. The threat density in my deck is 28 attacks out of 60 cards.
Yeah.
So if I have like a CNC in that hand or an icy encounter, the Weave Ice pumps the icy, right? So I would play one of those instead of gambling on 3 of a kind. If I have an arrow in hand, I would pitch a different card to play 3 of a kind to hedge my bets.
Yeah, even if it's a blue arrow.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Pitch a red card, keep the blue arrow, whatever.
Yeah.
And then out of those 28 out of 60 threats, so I like miss on I don't have a threat in hand. So then I have 22 arrows in the deck out of 60. So on the next 3 cards, I have to see an arrow because of the nature of 3 of a kind. And I whiff off of that also.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is like really deflating. And I got really tilted.
Yeah. As you said to us, just tilted off the face of the earth.
Yeah. I was like trying to wrap my mind around what was happening and also like still make good decisions, which I did not. Like, so in the whole tournament, right, like what did I play? 11 games of CC.
Yeah.
I'd never, it's like this perfect storm of with 3, because if you just draw up and don't have an attack, which is pretty low odds, but you can play like Winter's Bite, Channel Lake Frigid, and still like be very effective.
Yeah.
Right. It was this unfortunate like perfect storm of playing 3 of a kind and then not being able to play anything else.
Yeah.
So like the odds of that turn are like extraordinarily low. But that said, there's like a couple plays around that turn that I could have made more intelligently.
Right.
I should have blocked the turn before. I had the extra cards for it. I was just like, the mode in my brain is like, because I might not draw an arrow that Weave Ice works off of. So I might draw 1 Bolt and Shot or a Bolt and Shot and a Remorseless or whatever, right? So in my brain, I'm just trying to be like, I still have a lot of health. I'm trying to keep the, I need enough resources on my turn, fuse cards, arsenal cards to like make this happen. But the reality is like, that's not really the math, right? Like I should have blocked, preserved my life, moved on. There's a point I could have gone down to 1 and kept my arsenal. I was kind of like knee jerk, trying not to go too low against Briar. But I could have like made a Frostbite and played a Winter's Bite if I had not blocked with New Horizon. Yeah. There's like a number of like small decision points around that. And I was, like I said, at that point, I think my inexperience at that level showed, and I like definitely played suboptimally. Especially after that, I was just like, because I knew it's like once you give Briar a window, that deck's just like, it's like gross. It's so bad.
Yeah, you don't have access to Reckless Swing, Invert.
Yeah.
No way to play Sonata with Spellbound Creepers on their turn. Just no like extra little juice.
Yeah.
When you have cards. Yeah.
Oh, last point. I saw somebody asked. I did not get back to my pitch order. I didn't like screw myself with pitch. I pitched a CNC, an Endless Arrow, and a Frostlock, first 3 cards. So that was like high threat density in case I got back, which I did not think I would. I don't know if I ever got back to my pitch in those matches. Yeah. I definitely slow down the game enough that it goes longer, but you still don't see your pitch.
Yeah, and when you just give up that much momentum with no way to like really deal damage back without like at least 3 cards.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you have given up New Horizon, it's pretty tough.
Yep. So then I lost.
So then you lost. You lost in your quarters to Deegan. You know, well played. The world was upset for you and couldn't believe it. But, you know, it just happens.
Yeah, and thanks again for everybody who is like rooting for me and you know, reached out. Like people would come up individually to just say hi. You know, people would shout me out or whatever. And you know, I had some friends there, but a lot of the times like people are playing and you're just like kind of on your own. So just like strangers supporting you out of the blue is just like really heartwarming. So totally. Thanks everybody.
Yeah, that's a great look from the community and stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully I wasn't too much of a pompous dick when I said we were good at this game. Just thinking about that now. I'm just really happy with how our first competitive season went. And I'm just proud of both of us.
Totally. And you won a Road to Nats.
Undefeated.
And I just got, totally.
Yeah.
And I just got 5th at Nationals, which is like, not to like gloat, but it's just nice to, because we've like been playing for a very long time.
Yeah.
And are like pretty competitive people in our different ways. So it is nice to like perform well.
Yeah. And it's nice to like, I still feel like we're weirdly the underdog podcast or content creators out there, you know, like, I don't know. This 9% beverage I'm having is getting to me, and I'm starting to talk about my feelings. You know, I feel like the person that believes in us the most is Hayden Dale. You know, he's always like, "Oh yeah, you got this, man. You're gonna do great. Just friggin' do it." You know, I'm just like, cool, okay. I'm glad somebody thinks I'm like really good at this game, because sometimes I'm like,
it's good sports talk.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, it's just nice to be a little affirmed in the amount of effort we put into not only like, you know, the game, but the podcast to a small degree or whatever now, you know. Anyway, sorry. I could ramble on about my like competitive insecurities, but this is your show. Which leads me to, I have a couple of questions for you from people from various social media platforms.
Let me have it.
So we're going to talk about these questions, and we're going to get into our signature segments, and then we're going to get the F out of here.
Sounds good? Like a plan.
Cool. Okay, so Greg asks, had Isaac planned to bring this deck to Nats, or was it in response to the surge, pun intended, of the Lightning Briar showing up at the succeeding in the UK? Additionally, would love to know the thought process behind Voltaire versus Shiver. Heart emoji. Thanks, Greg.
Yeah. So the first part, right, is obviously like, no, like it was mostly that Levia has no hit effects to hamper this Lightning Briar deck. You can't just have 3 pummels. It's like not enough. Or in theory, I don't know. Shout out to any Levia players who did well. There was a guy pretty high up.
Nice.
But just in my mind, like that was mostly it, right? Like Levia's vast toolbox does not have the tools for this.
Yeah.
So that was that.
Voltaire versus Shiver.
Right. You and I actually talked to me about this because I sent you a polo at one point and was like, what if I have this like Shiver package and this Voltaire package, you know, like, because is the Dominate worth it, you know? But you were like, and you talked me down. My dog's peeking at us. Hi, Shasta.
The door's like partly closed, and she's like, I don't know how to solve this.
Anyway, so
right
back after the dog stuff. So as you pointed out, though, stripping cards is just as important as getting damaged through.
Yeah.
So while like the Weave Ice Dominate at the end is just crushing and a huge tool for this deck, for most of the game, having the flexibility of Voltaire and the like maybe stringing hit effects together vastly outweighs the Dominate, which only comes into play
at the end of the game.
At the end.
Yeah.
Or could early if you get a Frostlock, but it's like if you have a Remorseless and something else, you don't want to like dominate it. You want to shoot two things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to shoot two things.
Yeah.
Shout out to Raven, who's seems like a big fan of ours. Always likes all of our stuff on social media and stuff.
Oh, if it's the same one, I might have seen them in the Discord talking about Ranger stuff.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Why not Azalea? Sad face emoji. Though I know from testing my Azalea can't slow Briar down enough because of the embodiments of Earth, it's basically a coin toss where Lexi is favored. But was there an attempt at Azalea or straight to Lexi?
Yeah, well, you heard about me needing to play that match.
Yeah.
I guess the answer is like Winter's Bite, Frostbite, specifically the free one that Lexi makes every turn, and Voltaire, right?
Yeah.
Again, Azalea has like the Memorial Ground, Knock, Red in the Ledger. That could be like incredibly crippling. But as I know from just playing Azalea into Chain, for example, you have these turns that kind of whiff, right? Like all you have is like a Searing Shot or a Ridge Rider shot, or like Sleep Dart's pretty good, but a Hamstring Shot, and it's just like not enough,
Right.
And so I felt like with Lexi, I would have less lull turns. Like they can both cripple Briar in their own way, but Azalea might have just a few more off turns. Was kind of like the thought process in my mind.
Nice.
The romantic vision of just like charging into nationals, wielding Azalea and like beating everyone was definitely on my mind.
But not this year.
Maybe next year.
Yeah, like slap your back of your hand as you go into the cookie jar. Like, no. Okay, we got one last one from our boy Jake, the Bravo darling of the Bay Area.
Oh, yeah. I saw Jake. What's up, Jake?
Yeah. So he's talking about your day 2 draft, specifically when you pivot to Azalea. So he says, nice pivot. Did you face any Oldheims? As Lexi, I had a hard time getting past their tanky defenses in draft/sealed.
Yep. So, actually, Fatigue Oldheim is the deck that scares me the most, right? Like, it almost got me when I had aggro Oldheim. Just because you have to, like, deck stack and manage your cards so well. Because, like, they're a Fatigue deck that will just, like, swing at you for, like, 7 or 10 when you give them a window, right? Like, if you just take a breather to like efficiently deck stack your winning combo instead of threatening them, then they just come back at you for 10. And that makes it really, really tough. But I only fought one Oldheim. The player who had won a Road to Nats, like a very good player. I only fought one Oldheim with my Lexi. But just being like one of the only 2 Lexis and there being at least 3 Oldheims helps me out. And I kind of went full, just the threat density in my deck. I just was able to kind of like kill him before he was really set up. It's like I go first and you're just like pumping and dominating arrows before they can, it's like arsenal their red, defense reaction or whatever.
Right.
It seemed like I won like first in the first third of the deck or whatever. That said, though, that's why drafting Lexi is so scary, because I think if there's too many Lexis, that deck is terrible and will like auto lose to a medium Oldheim. So yeah, sorry, I don't have the silver bullet for Fatigue Oldheim. That deck's terrifying.
Totally. Okay, we're going to take a super short break to do some things, and then we'll be back with our signature segments.
Ooh, I don't know what these things are.
Okay, the things are done. So on our podcast, we have several signature segments. one of which is pick, pass, pray. Draft scenario, I'm going to give you 3 cards. One you're going to pick, one you're going to pass, and one you're going to pray comes back around. Are you ready, Isaac?
I am ready.
Okay. First up is Entwine Earth. It's a red Entwine Earth. So it's an elemental attack action. It has a power of 6, defense for 2, pitches for 1, costs 2, and it has Earth Fusion. And it reads, if Entwine Earth was fused, it gains +2. So then becomes an 8. Second card is Sutcliffe's Suede Hides, aka the PF Flyers of the format. They're a Runeblade equipment legs. They block for 0, and they have an attack reaction that costs 1 resource. Destroy Sutcliffe's Suede Hides. Target attack action gains Go Again. Activate this ability only if you have played a non-attack action card this turn. Yep. Then we have Ball Lightning Blue. So it pitches for 3, costs 0, attacks for 1, defends for 0, and is a lightning attack action. And it reads, whenever a lightning or elemental action card would deal damage this combat chain, instead it deals that much damage +1. Go again. So, Isaac, which one are you going to pick, which one are you going to pass, and which one are you going to pray comes back around?
I'm going to pick Sutcliffe's Suede Hides.
Wow, cool.
And then I think I'm going to pray Ball Lightning comes back around, which I know this is like a little nuts here. Ball Lightning isn't my favorite, first of all, as a blue, because it's like much more valuable in Runeblade than in Lexi. It does work pretty well with Mark of Lightning at the end of the game if you just need to do 2 damage. So here's my... maybe in the past I would pick Entwine Earth first, right? But
now that I've top dated Nationals...
well, but for this card, I mean, 2 for 6 isn't bad, but to fuse it, you have to have a high density of Earth cards in your deck. And just the last few drafts I've played have had one thing in common. Earth is offline. Earth is just picked. So I'm just going to if somebody's passing me Earth, if it's open, great. I'll veer that way. But I can pick the Suede Hides. It's first pick. I don't have to use them. But if I do, they're great. And yeah.
So then you pray or pass.
Ball Lightning comes back around.
And pass on Entwine.
I guess if Earth is open, I pray Entwine's coming back, but it's just not going to be.
Cool.
So
awesome.
Yep. What would you pick? Pass and pray.
Nice. So the first time we're going to have a little parody in our Tales of Aria meta.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm going to pick Entwine Earth first, actually. It's the thing that leaves me the most open and is one of the best cards to pick out of the element only cards, right? This and Lightning Surge, or
Entwine Lightning.
Entwine Lightning. Yeah. Excuse me. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Those 2 I would 100% consider picking pick one. They're just really powerful and don't really put you in one camp or the other.
Yeah, 2 for 8's not too shabby.
Yeah, totally. It's pretty sick. I'm going to pray that the Suede Hides come back around. They are a really powerful piece of equipment. I think they're kind of tier 1.5 in terms of equipment. I would think that Mark of Lightning and Deep Blue are maybe up there. And then maybe it's Suede Hides is a really, really close to those power level in terms of equipment you want to have, and then I'm just going to pass on the blue Ball Lightning. You don't really need that many Ball Lightnings. The blue one isn't the one you really want if it's in a deck where it's going to be a resource card. It is pretty powerful if you do get to go Briar and you just get the Bramble Spark, Ball Lightning, Mark of Lightning combo and they're dead with 6 health is pretty sweet. But there's no guarantee you can get all of those pieces and that sort of thing. So those are my picks.
Totally. And I think that you are technically correct. I think picking Entwine Earth is the best pick. I'm just like, again, having played so many games of Earth being unavailable, I'm like a little bit jaded. I'll come back around though.
I mean, I really like the suede hides and might pick them pack 1, just because they're really powerful still. I don't know why he's on a stool. I guess maybe he's at his desk working and he's on this stool.
Oh yeah, because it's Sutcliffe.
Yeah, I'm like...
He's probably writing a tome.
I'm probably making some research notes.
Bookkeeping,
I'm anti-stool, by the way. I'm coming out on this podcast as anti-stool.
Yeah, like why? What is the downside of back support?
Yeah, totally. Why are stools so tall?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I digress.
So our next segment is called Board Game from the Closet. Here at the Attack Action Podcast, we love many, many games, not just Flesh and Blood. So sometimes we like to share one of those board games with you. This won't be our favorite game or the best game in the world, but it is a game that we hope that will pique some of your interests and that some of you will enjoy at home. So today's board game from the closet is Taylor's board game.
Thanks, Isaac. I just love it when you do that. I don't know why. Hopefully the audience loves it too. My pick, and I hope we haven't done this one yet, is Mechs vs. Minions, made by the people who make League of Legends, whoever that is. What studio is that?
I don't know.
Ah, Jesus.
But Mechs vs. Minions is a great pick.
Yeah, totally. So it's a scenario-based game that has programming as its main mechanic. So it has like a beginning draft where you pick cards kind of off the top of a deck, or like in there are a number of cards that are face up and are public and then get replaced kind of as you go. Anyway, you go around the table and draft cards out of there, but you're timed. So you can't like make super optimal decisions. You kind of have to like make the best decision and then the next person does, etc. And then you will play those cards down into different numbered slots on your player's tableau, and they're numbered 1 through 6. And then once everybody has played their cards, one card down, then everybody on the player's team, it's cooperative, and you usually have like a shared goal for the scenario that you need to complete. And you will then, any card you have played, you go from left to right, 1 through 6, and do the actions on those cards. And so it's really fun because it gets really clunky because you're like half building an engine, and then you will like take some damage from a minion, and then you get like a damage card that you have to put on your like combat line or your command line where you're programming these actions. And it's usually something stupid like roll a die, and on 1 through 2 do this thing, 3 through 4 do this thing, 5 through 6
totally derail whatever's down the line.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So you've planned out this whole turn where you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna move forward 2 spaces, like saw blade these minions, go over here, hit the switch, etc. But in reality, you're like, cool, I turn to the right and blast into this wall 4 times in a row, and then walk backwards 2 spaces, and then that's my turn. And you have to figure out how to coordinate with the other people at the table to win the scenario. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah, this is a really, really good game. And I really enjoy this game because it's like sometimes you play like a worker placement or something, and you're like, this is just really rigid and like a forced kind of puzzle, like abstract puzzle. It's just like, why is this like this? This isn't like a farm or whatever. But in Mechs vs. Minions, you're role playing like, I think, child students at a mech school.
Yeah. Piloting
like broken, malfunctioning mechs. So it's like right on point, and there's like a good reason, and the role playing for it is like excellent. Like, this is why you're struggling to pilot this mech.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it hits it's also made by Riot Games. Yeah. I had to look that up, is the publisher. So it also ticks all of the boxes for like board games, right? It's like really beautiful to look at. The gameplay the whole time is fun and snappy. It has an excellent box with excellent storage. It's just not like a bunch of baggies with a bunch of shit in just like a box.
People who play a lot of board games know this is a huge tick.
Yeah, totally. It has like beautiful plastic inserts and everything has its place, and you put it all back in the same way every time, and it's really tight and well designed that way. And it's like the gameplay matches the theme of the game too. So it's a 10 out of 10 in my book for sure.
Yeah. Thought-provoking, fun with friends,
Totally. And in an alternate reality, me and Isaac have always thought about like doing a YouTube channel or a podcast about games or video games you can play drunk or while drinking,
Totally.
And this is one of them that it's like maybe more fun if you're kind of hammered.
Being cooperative also.
Yeah.
So there's no bitter competition.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I still think that's a good idea. So, like, things about this channel, like, so games that you can, if you have to travel a long distance, if you can do it with one hand on the joystick and drink your beer, it's so much better than having to spend 5 minutes with two hands on the controller.
Yeah.
These are the things we're looking for in our beer video games.
Just a quick aside. Yeah. Like the console version of Diablo 3, like if one player is clearly going a direction, you can just take both hands off the controller and your character just follows them.
They'll just drag you.
Yeah. Perfect. You just like eat some nachos, drink some beer, and then get back into the action when you're ready.
These are those high-end mechanics we're looking for.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Well, that's our show.
Yep.
Thank you, Isaac. I appreciate you. Great job. I'm super proud of you again for the millionth time. It's
thanks, man. Super
great accomplishment, and it was just a hell of a run and an amazing call for the meta, And if you just get like if you just don't have that bad luck and just have average luck, you might have been in the finals, which is like aggravating but also exciting all at the same time.
Totally. Thinking about that game as an isolated incident, I wish I would have played a little bit tighter. I wish I would have, not had an unfortunate hand. But the whole weekend, I'm like, if you told me before I would get fifth, I'd be like, oh, sold. That sounds excellent. Everything was very, very fun, and it was like great interacting with everybody. So thank you. And thank you, Taylor, for playing with me for a year, starting this podcast, and for all your support.
Hey, anytime.
We'll be there next year. Watch out.
Yeah, totally. Aren't you psyched now? We're going to qualify.
Yeah, it turns out it's great.
Hell yeah. Well, go ahead and we'll just like plug all of our stuff and follow us on all of those platforms. Twitter, at BattleBro Taylor, at BattleBro Isaac. Instagram, Facebook, at the Attack Action Podcast, the Attack Action Podcast at gmail.com. Send us any questions you might have about anything. One time, fan favorite Manuel asked us what type of trees we have around, and we answered it on the pod.
Yep, any question.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear from you guys.
Except for that one, because it's already been taken and we've answered it. So that would be pretty boring.
Fab Foundry is our affiliate.
Hell yeah.
Use our affiliate link in the show notes. It helps us out, helps them out. Get all your singles.
Yep, definitely. It's competitive pricing for sure. And it's, on it is incredible story, right? He kind of dips his toe in the water as an online store for Fab. Pandemic happens. He kind of pivots more into it. It blows up. He gets to make enough money and has a good enough business, and he opens up his own brick and mortar store now where he has like armory events and road to Nats and all of this stuff. He's just thriving because of Flesh and Blood. So it's just really great to we're still at a point in the game where you can like really still know the people you are supporting.
Yeah.
And so that's like a really rare thing in today's age and important. So
Definitely.
if you can, buy your unlimited version of New Horizons from On It, helps us out, helps him out, helps you out on your path to destroying Briar.
And support us on Patreon.
Yeah.
It costs you a cup of coffee a month.
Yep.
And we very much appreciate it.
Totally. Not your beer. You can keep your beer.
Totally.
But you got to give up 1 cup of coffee a month.
Yeah, or like that bottle of water you didn't need to buy,
Yeah.
Just bring a bottle from home.
Yep.
Save the planet. Support us.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the podcast is always going to be free. And, honestly, our rewards are cool, but they're not stuff like, we're not doing any sort of coaching or anything like that. We're just providing a community space and allowing you to support us if you are financially stable and this podcast means something to you. Of course, you get access to our Discord. You're going to get stickers, custom playmat with original artwork that says the Attack Action Podcast on it. All of those are different tiers, but those are the type of things you can look forward to. We have a Discord tournament every other month. I think the next one is going to be a popper format, so you can get in on that. So yeah, any time during the month is a good time to join because there's not like set stuff or whatever,
Yeah.
So get in there, mix it up, hang out with us. We also have our socials. Fun thing about the socials is that now Mike Popovich, I've now officially on the podcast, he's going to make a custom cocktail recipe every month during our social. Yesterday it was the 3 of a kind.
Yep.
Which was hilarious. Great job, Mike. All right. You got anything else you want to add there, Prince of Precision?
Nope. Thanks, everyone.
Totally.
Good night.
Good night.